and this is Changing the Narrative. I'm your host, David Rives, and we are changing the narrative every day and in every way. We've been spoon-fed a narrative of atheism, a narrative of naturalism, a narrative that says that, hey, you're an accident, you're just star stuff, you don't mean anything, you're an animal, so just act like an animal, it doesn't matter. Well, we are changing the narrative back to truth, the truth of God's Word. We do this every week, and we are really excited today because my friend Stuart is in studio to talk about how he is changing the narrative on social media, changing the narrative with his video productions, and so much more. Welcome to the program.
David, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to see you again.
It is great to have you in studio. I tell you, we loved having you and the crew out. This has probably been a few months ago.
Probably 2 months ago. We do have a video coming soon on the Wonder Center on our social media platform, and super excited for it. Wanted to get this interview recorded with you so that ultimately we can use clips for the video that we do have coming out.
That's perfect, and it was perfect timing, and we love having you guys out. It's always a blast just talking with you. But I really wanted to get a little bit of background on, number one, you, and then number two, kind of how this idea originated, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so my background is I've been in tourism and hospitality for almost 15 years, and I've given close to 20,000 people tours of the city of Nashville.
Wow.
In person. So barbecue tours, music tours. If you think of it, I've done it. Fishing tours. Like I've done those type of things. But I've been in the Nashville area for about 13 years, and I fell in love once I moved here. Yeah. But the idea to produce content like we produce was an idea I had all the way back in like 2008.
Okay.
And basically in high school and in college, I didn't write any papers. I made movies and I made videos.
Gotcha.
Somehow I was able to convince my professors and teachers, hey, I'm not going to write any like AP English papers. Yeah. I'm just going to make a movie. And so we would do like William Shakespeare things with Halo 2. And this is before like screen recording was really a thing in video games. And so we would make these productions of Julius Caesar and Halo 2. And it was a fantastic production. Wow. And somehow I convinced people to let me do video.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to live in Italy, and I studied Bible over there. So I studied Bible and fine arts in Italy, and I lived there for nearly a year. And at that time, because it was more of like a missionary type school, I had to raise funds. And so for my funders, I made these videos on the culture, on the history, on my experience with the food, the experience of these small towns in Italy. And so I really honed in my craft on that storytelling aspect there. But this has been a concept for a very long time. I moved to Nashville and I started creating content. Not content, but I started driving for Uber. Okay. And I did 250,000 miles or so in the city of Nashville. And I just learned all about it. And I'm like, okay, I have all this knowledge now about this city, history, the culture, the food, all of these things. And I'm like, okay, now I need to actually monetize this.
Yeah.
So I approached a couple big companies and they all said, no, my idea is crap. And this is about 2015. And I approached a $1 billion company and they're like, no, content's not going to do that for us and all these things. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to build my own thing. Thankfully, I met my business partner, Aaron Pennington, and his background is film and broadcasting. So we were able to take my tourism skill set and combine it with his broadcasting skills. So I'm a storyteller more in person.
Right.
He's a storyteller through video. And so we were able to do that, and we've been building this brand, XPLR.Nash, for the last 6 years.
That is so neat. And y'all are killing it on social media. I mean, Explore Nashville. People...
At least on Instagram, yeah. We are. So we've had the opportunity to grow basically 100,000 followers from April 1st of 2023 to April 1st of 2024. Yeah, so we're killing it there. YouTube are still trying to figure out and other platforms, but Instagram's doing really well for us, and it's awesome getting to be able to showcase Nashville through social media.
Right. So this brand explores Nashville and
Middle
Tennessee in general.
Tennessee and Middle Tennessee.
But people can use this to pick their next destination, which is so neat, right? Because you're not creating content just to create content. You're not creating something that's trivial or just fun to watch. What you're doing is you're creating a curated playlist that will help people choose their next destination if they live in Tennessee, or even if they're visiting.
Yes, yeah. We literally, one of the best compliments I've had recently is when we were doing our daily podcast. It was called the Nashville Daily Podcast. We rebranded it to XPLR.Nash Podcast. There was a burger restaurant in Nashville. I was standing in line waiting to order, and the two guys in front of me were from Britain. And they literally turned around and they said, "I can't believe it's you." And I'm like, "Who's me?"
Yeah.
And they planned their entire week-long trip based on our content.
Wow.
Where to stay, the restaurants to go. And so I helped that individual save time.
Right.
Instead of doing this research, they trusted us. They listened to our show. They watched this content, and they saved time. But our mission statement for our business is to create actionable content to allow people to experience their local communities.
Okay, so when I travel a lot. I speak at a lot of different universities, churches, all of these different places, go on speaking tours, film, obviously, all over the world. But the first thing I do when I hit a city and I know that I've got a few spare hours is I start to Google, and I'm like, okay, what do I do for a few hours? What are these spots?
Where do I eat? Where do I eat?
Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, you're trying to read through reviews, and you're like, there's a negative review. Should I trust that or what?
Yeah.
This is so neat because it's creating something where within a few short seconds, a few minutes, they can start watching videos and make their selection of where they're going to go, what they're going to do. I wish every city had something like this. I think we need to expand the brand.
We have opportunities to do that internationally.
I love it.
That's not coming until I make $10 million. So, but there's not many brands that are city specific,
right,
that bring that type of value proposition to their audience.
Yeah.
There's like a Blog Toronto that's a really big blog, but it's owned by the biggest media company in Canada.
Okay.
And so like all of these smaller like Thrillist and these things, they don't have the expertise of the brand that we've created.
Yes.
Like with me in the tourism and Aaron with his broadcasting skills.
Yeah.
And we still have a lot of needs. We're still growing this thing, and we've had to change the business model multiple times to really figure out where cash flow is and where revenue is coming from. But at the end of the day, we're still creating value to our audience.
Absolutely.
But then in our videos, we want to be a blessing to small businesses.
Okay.
And some of the small businesses that we have helped and we've heard from, their lives are radically transformed as a result of some of our videos getting hundreds of thousands or millions of views. Yeah. And people buying their food and trusting us to go to these places. Just yesterday, I was all over town, all over Nashville, and I was stopped, I think, 15 times. And so I'm able to hand out stickers and engage with people briefly and say, like, hey, like, how have I brought you value? That's always something I'm asking somebody is, how has my content brought you value? And people are like, I've planned out my entire weekend. I planned out my date nights with my wife. Like I've done these things because of your videos.
That is,
and so it's saving individuals time.
You're having an impact that way. You're changing the narrative when it comes to Nashville and Middle Tennessee. Yep. You ever plan to sell out and say, if somebody offers me enough money for this thing, I'm going to really play them out really big.
This question has come up 6 times in the last week.
Yeah.
I will not sell the company for less than $50 million.
I love it.
Just because there's not many teams that can do what we do.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like my personal goal is to be drawn close to Jesus.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that and we publicly haven't said it, like that we're Christians on the account, but like if you read through the lines, you watch our videos,
yes,
we don't promote certain things. We don't promote the narrative that we're taught in schools. We don't promote these things. And if you really read through the lines, you will discover that I am a Christian. My team is a Christian team. It's not a Christian company. We're not branded that way.
Right.
But
your values
are very
will
Christian
show
focused.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
But we want to get into live events, and we have a thing that we're going to be introducing in Nashville called XPLR.Nash Welcome Parties.
Okay.
And this is a live event to welcome our audience to Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
And it's going to be heavily sponsored, but for our audience, it's going to be free. I'm literally going to be hiring a director of hospitality who is a pastor for our audience. So just like Way FM or K-Love, they have these on-staff pastors. Yep. We'll never call our director of hospitality our pastor, but I have that person there as a pastor to be able to engage with our audience, follow up with them saying, hey, you came to this welcome party. Do you want to come back to another XPLR.Nash event? And then connect people to where they need to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so neat.
So that's where I want to be. That's where our heartbeat is at the end of the day, we want to bring people value.
Well, a lot of people say, well, unless I'm a missionary overseas or whatever, I'm not actually sharing the gospel.
Yeah.
And what I think a lot of people don't really get is your witness plays so much of a part in how people perceive Christianity, right?
Yes.
So it's the way you act, it's the things you do, it's how you behave, it's the joy that people see in you that they might not personally have. Yes, of course, the gospel message itself, that Jesus came to this earth to live, die, be raised again, so we would be with him for eternity, is important. But to get people to the point where they are willing to listen, they have to see that there's something special about the way your life is. Yeah. And you're actually getting that across because, my goodness, what a dream job. I know it's a ton of work. I know you are tireless in what you're doing, but you're getting to explore at the same time you're bringing to your audience the chance to explore Nashville.
And exploration for me is what led me to my faith, is exploring and trying to figure these things out. And so the Lord has allowed me to have these incredible relationships with these huge multimillionaires and these people of influence, and I'm able to share Jesus with them.
Wow.
And my prayer over the last few years is, Lord, if I have the opportunity to share Jesus in front of kings and queens, let me do it, and let me do it boldly. And I have. And one of my spiritual gifts is evangelism, and so I do it through building relationship and building rapport. And I've done street evangelism. I've had the opportunity when I was living in Italy. This is a bizarre story that the Lord allowed me to have. I was in Florence, Italy, and I shared the gospel on top of the Roman church with 10 Canadians.
Is that
3 days later? Those 10 Canadians were at the Colosseum. They brought 40 people, 40 of their other Canadian friends, and I shared the gospel of Jesus in the Colosseum in Rome.
Wow.
And so I've been able to do these incredible things because the Lord has allowed me to do these things. But I need to be obedient.
Right.
Constantly.
Right.
And when the Lord says, hey, share, you got to do it.
You do it.
You do it. Because if you're not obedient, you're in sin.
Right.
But with the rise of what's happening with our account, I believe this is blessed by the Lord.
Yes.
To do these things.
Yes.
We just ended our lease with our studio, and I'm like, how did I afford this for 3 years? I don't know how we afford this, and we did. But the thing I've been praying over, and I've been sharing this a lot with a lot of men that are struggling with this too. Our society says, hey, be famous.
Right.
Our society says, hey, be wealthy.
Yep. Hey,
be successful. And I was really praying for clarity on these things. I desire those things. Some of those things can be evil if they replace the worship of God. And so the Lord gave me this about 5 months ago, and I've been able to have this conversation with people 7 or 8 times the last week. Lord, I'm famous because you see me.
Yes.
Lord, I'm wealthy because I'm in relationship with you. Lord, I'm successful because I'm obedient.
Right.
And it has given me so much clarity of I don't need to chase that fame. I don't need to be successful. I don't need to be wealthy.
Right.
Because I have all of those.
That's such a great point. What we've seen has been almost miraculous with the Wonder Center.
Oh, this is what you guys have built is the pinnacle of the best attraction in Middle Tennessee.
Wow.
If I were to build a museum, it would be exactly like this.
Well, thank you so much for saying. But it starts with those little things, right? It starts with being obedient in those small things, and all of a sudden, doors open that I could have never have imagined, right? Yeah. I mean, you try to tell me that, 2 years ago, this wasn't even on the radar. And here we are today in over 100,000
It's crazy what you've done in 2 years. The studios, the everything. Yeah.
It's been a lot of, it's been night and day work. Has it been difficult? Absolutely, every day. But at the same time, has it been so worth it to see the eyes that light up from the people who are radically changed when they walk through here, and they're like, we love the Science Museum, but we noticed that you didn't actually talk about, you're not telling us this whole evolutionary bit. You actually mentioned God in several. This is so crazy. We've never seen anything quite like it, right? Yeah. But children today are being fed lies.
Yes.
They are being told things that are simply not true. Yeah. You can say, oh, well, it's untruths. Put it bluntly, it's lies.
Yes.
It's lies. And
Satan is the father of lies.
And Satan is the father of lies. So
he controls the narrative.
Yeah, he controls the narrative. That's the reason we want to change the narrative, right?
Yeah.
But what you're doing is you are changing the narrative through your content. And you are basically, you have a business that is blessing other businesses through that content. Explain that just a little bit more.
So I love small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of this country.
Yeah.
I grew up in dairy farming, and that's very near and dear to my heart. I'm very not anti-big business. I think big business is necessary, but small businesses are allowing people to innovate. They're allowing to create. My perception on the American dream is to be able to build a legacy through business.
Yeah.
It's not home ownership. It's not these things. It's to build a legacy, to build an empire. Yeah. And we have an opportunity with our faithful audience that trust us to go promote these things that we are exploring. Like my team and I are exploring some of this stuff live. Like we have a video coming out tomorrow on Bobby Q's Barbecue in Cookeville. I've never been there, but it's the same owner that owns a famous restaurant in Nashville called Monell's.
Okay.
And he bought this because he saw a woman crying on News Channel 5 that the business was closing.
Really?
Incredible story. He put $1 million in investment into it, and he's blessed that local community.
Yes.
And so we're doing a video talking about what he did. And it's, hey, audience, you trust us? Now go help.
Yes.
Bless this operator so that he could then be a blessing in return to his staff and to that community.
Right.
And so it's we love supporting small business because there's innovation. There's dreams. There's maybe the Lord said, hey, you need to open this restaurant.
Yeah.
You need to take your creativity and create food to help just people have good relationships, to have a healthy conversation in your restaurant. And so we just want to be a blessing to these operators through our brand.
Some of those, like you're talking about, whether it's small businesses, whether it's a local restaurant or whatever, they have the most difficult time staying going.
Yep. And their cash flow is hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whereas all of these chains, yes, you know exactly what you're going to get. There's a cookie cutter mold. Mm-hmm. The individuals have stepped out of that mold.
Yes.
They're the ones who are going to drive the future. They're the ones who are going to prove what to do next, that then the chains pick up and then they pattern that, right? So we have to understand how crucial this is. Local businesses, locals trying new things. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it fails, sometimes it works.
But that's based on the market.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right now, until Christ is full, he's full king right now, but when he is actual Lord of this earth fully, capitalism is the only thing, compassionate capitalism.
Yes.
That coin was phrased by my friend Ben Cooley.
Okay.
And he used to be with an organization called Hope for Justice, that fights human trafficking.
Yes.
And he said we needed to be compassionate capitalist. And that's what we need to be. Capitalism is the closest thing that we can get to God's kingdom on earth right now.
Absolutely.
If it's done correctly.
Compassionate capitalism. Yes. It's not all about the
cash.
bottom line.
No.
It is about doing the best that we can while seeing everyone else raised up around
and
us.
thriving.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's if you're in coffee, it's making sure these farmers aren't using slave labor. If you're in textiles, it's making sure these factories aren't slave labor. Like it's certain things to make sure that you're having quality control over your product. Yeah, your product is going to be more expensive because of these things.
Right.
But it's making sure that you are compassionate to worldwide individuals creating all of your products.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so in this process, how do you come up with the ideas for your content? Do people approach you? Do you approach them? Like how? Because a lot of, again, it's storytelling. Each video is not just check this place out. It is more of a, join me on this journey to check this place out, and I'm going to see what I think about it, and I'm going to share my opinions with you, and then you make the decision.
It's interesting because of we do have paid opportunities on our account.
Sure.
And so we have to safeguard that and make sure that that's a brand that we actually want to promote and do that, because we're becoming an advertising network.
Sure.
And that's one thing that we're doing, but we're going to have quality control over it. Yeah. We have a list, I think it's 10,000 ideas. And we're just getting started.
Wow.
My team releases typically Monday through Friday, anywhere from 1 to 4 videos a day.
Wow.
On Instagram.
Wow.
We're getting back into weekly YouTube videos, and we have a bunch of series that we want to do, like documentaries, like on different neighborhoods in Nashville.
Yeah.
It's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Documentaries are expensive.
Absolutely.
And so we need trusted sponsors that are willing to front the bill, because we are a for-profit business. We're not a nonprofit.
Yep. And
so some of our ideas, yes, they are paid ideas.
Okay.
But most of our ideas we've done is completely for free.
Wow.
And so, and the Lord has just been able to take care of us in the meantime. But we have like the state parks. Tennessee has an incredible state park system.
Yeah.
The food in Nashville. Nashville is now considered one of the meccas of food in the United States. The international traveling. Like there's so many opportunities to be able to curate content for all of these individuals that hopefully brings them value.
Yes.
And then comedy. We do comedy as well. And then we don't do it that often. Like we just did a video on filling Nashville potholes with cicadas. And I went around my yard and I picked up all these dead shells of cicadas and threw them in a wheelbarrow. And now we're going to actually potentially fill a pothole with these cicadas. And it's laughing at what's happening in current moments, but then also like I am very frustrated because I hit this pothole and it destroyed my axle every day. And so it's in a sense, it's picking on our local government. Like, hey, you guys are responsible for this. Do your work, but like also then bringing people value because they laugh.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And of course, I love food. I mean, my goodness, I'm always looking for the newest spot or whatever. So the fact that you do get to go around trying all this local cuisine, I think that's somewhat of a dream job as well.
It is, and I try working out for 15, 20 minutes a day and try to keep the lbs off, but it does not work. It's an incredible opportunity, and the thing I really enjoy about my job is I get to spend time with operators.
Yes.
And there's days Aaron and I and Joe, like we get to spend 2 or 3 hours with these people who have created businesses.
Right.
And who are, by world standards, successful. But I get to hear their heart, and I get to spend multiple hours with these operators and just learn about them and learn about how they operate their business and how ultimately I can make my business better because I'm learning from this operator.
Yes.
And some of these operators, especially in the restaurant world, they don't get time to go and tell their story.
Right.
And because they're so busy working that restaurant, working that thing, building a legacy for hopefully their family, and I get to go spend 2 hours with them, maybe 3 hours when we're filming, and I'm just like, this is insane that I get this much face time with this individual.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's truly revolutionizing their field. They're doing something very bold.
Yeah.
What does it mean to create actionable content?
So actionable content for me is I want people to go spend money.
Okay.
Like I want people, we have a bunch of free videos like waterfalls and stuff, like go out and actually go support these local communities.
Yes.
And so when we set out to create this content, one thing that we did, and this is what a lot of people do, like, oh, I'm going to just do voiceovers of this place and not actually go be in the place. They do Google Images and stuff. For us, when we say create actionable content, we are at these locations. I'm in the videos.
Yeah.
We're in front of these attractions. We're in this restaurant, and we are actually being actionable to go to those places in our videos.
That is so neat. That is so... last words, again, how are you changing the narrative when it comes to the Nashville communities, to Middle Tennessee, and beyond?
Every day I get to co-create with the creator.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And so for me, I love what I do. I love creating this stuff, and I love bringing value to people.
That's so amazing. What an incredible opportunity. What you're doing is truly remarkable. I've loved getting to know you, and I can't wait to have you back out to the Wonder Center for some other projects in the future. Maybe host something, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out one way or the other.
Regardless, we have to eat. That's what we need to do. That's the next thing we need to do together.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. It's almost lunchtime.
Yeah.
It makes me hungry right now.
Yeah. After this, we're going to House Blend, and we're going to get that pimento cheese biscuit.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for what you do.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us today on Changing the Narrative. As we've seen, there are so many different ways that we can change the narrative. You've seen musical guests occasionally on this program. You have seen content creators. You have seen scientists, PhD scientists, of course, probably more often than not, because, hey, I kind of tend to hang out with the geeks. I don't know what the deal is. But what you've seen is that there are so many people around the world who are changing the narrative in their way. Again, they're changing the narrative back to truth. We've seen so much in the media. We've seen so much on TV. When we read articles online, we're always seeing this atheistic agenda being pushed. This idea that, hey, we just ought to act like animals because that's all we are. We're simply accidents of the cosmos. No, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You're made in the image of God. We have purpose through Christ, and we are changing the narrative every day and in every way, in the actions, in how people see you. I'm David Rives, and until next time, I want you to keep looking up, because truly, the heavens declare the glory of God. Find us on all social platforms to stay informed. Watch Genesis Science Network 24/7 for free on Roku, Fire TV, and on our website. Visit the world's largest origins-based store, CreationSuperstore.com.